Hey there, Gel Press family. So if 2020 taught us anything, it's that sometimes we need to take a different look at the world and maybe just see things a little bit differently. So today in my video, I wanted to take this petite set from Richard Gray. It's the one that has the 3 different shapes and kind of look at them differently. I wanted to maybe challenge all of us to take what we have and maybe use it in a different way. So this video is all about what do you see? So let's get started with some creativity, and I'd love in the comments for you guys to let us know what unique way you use your petites. All right, friends, we're going to start this with the light bulb or hot air balloon shape. And I'm just using some super simple ideas with some Simon Hurley dye ink, and just applying those to directly to my plate. And I was kind of playing with how I wanted the hot air balloon to look, and I wasn't getting a really smooth transition between the colors. You can see I'm kind of dabbing. I apologize, for some reason I did this really close to the bottom of the screen and I didn't remember doing that. But I'm just taking a makeup sponge and just blending it in the middle just so I get a little bit smoother transition. And I love how it does it, and I think it's going to work for what I want to do. And then I'm just going to go through and just cut them out like you kind of would. Now I could have done this directly on a card, but I wanted to be able to layer some additional little fun papers and designs onto it. And I'm just going to take a Sharpie and just add some pop. Now I am filming this video in February, so I thought it would be super fun to make these all kind of lovey-dovey Valentine's Day themed. So I'm going to add a little red heart to the middle of my light bulb there. And I think it's cute. And if you know me at all, you know that I have a deep love and respect for all things puns. And so I kind of went and scoured the internet for what's a good Valentine light bulb pun. So that's kind of where this idea came from. And I had this paper and that I had bought, and I'm not loving it, but we'll fix it in a minute. So I found this adorable little pun that says, "I love you a watt." And so I thought it was perfect for my light bulb themed Valentine here. So I just wrote it out on some white paper and just trimmed it down so it would fit on my card. And it makes my geeky little punny heart so happy. And then I decided I didn't love the background. That was a little too boring. So I went and dug out some old scrapbook paper. Like, I mean, come on, this one has balloon animal little dogs on it. How adorable is that? And I thought it really went with kind of my fun and punny, if you will, card here. So I'm just gonna layer just some funky little patterns there, and just layer them in there, and just to give it some pop and give it some more color and make that yellow stand out a lot more. And then I found this cute little sticker that I liked better than my little red heart. And I'm going to add my little words and add some stitching kind of detail to the outside to kind of finish it off. And it makes my geeky little punny heart so happy. All right, and now we are on to the next one. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. And then I tried desperately to use that wood-themed paper again, and I just didn't love it. It didn't really kind of go with what I wanted. But I am going to go in with some details and kind of just give it those details that you would kind of typically see on a hot air balloon. So the lines that are going down and kind of the drapery that you see in a lot of them, and filling it in just to give it some pop and give it some dimension. And I feel like it looks very hot air balloonish, so I was very excited. I wanted it to have kind of more of a pop, so I went in with a darker and thicker. I think that might be a Faber-Castell, or I'm not sure what kind of pen that is. But you can see I'm getting the drapery in there that you kind of usually see on those. And I've got my little basket outlined there at the bottom. It's not the bottom of a light bulb, it's the basket of a hot air balloon. So that made me happy. And then I went through my gel press stash and found this kind of pretty, this was actually a mess up print, we'll just call it that. But I thought the colors would be great to go ahead and just kind of make my clouds and turn my card into kind of make it look like my hot air balloon is actually kind of, I guess, floating in the air. So it's a great use for if you have a mess up print or you have one of those really fun play day sessions where you're just making print after print after print. I keep a big stack actually just on the side of my desk because I never know when I might want to grab my Sizzix and cut out a shape or freehand a shape kind of like this for a project like this. And so I think it's always great to kind of keep those handy because you never know when you might be super inspired and need like a certain shape or a certain style or maybe adding a certain color if you need just a pop of a certain color. And if you know we always have for like me anyway, tons and tons of just prints hanging out. So I've got just a plain white card, which is the same thing I used on the other card as well. I think I just bought them from like Joann's or something. And I am kind of figuring out what works best. And I borrowed this little set from a friend of mine who has a ton of stuff. Shout out for friends that have stuff. To put my sentiment on it. And I loved it because it kind of went with my whole thing going on here. And to keep the card coordinated, I went ahead and added some of this green Simon Hurley. I apologize, Simon. I will find what the actual color name is whenever in the descriptions because I don't have it right next to me right now. And so I'm just layering my clouds, and it's just going to be this fun little whimsical cloud card. I have this twine that's left over from a different project, and of course, no hot air balloon is complete without the ropes to hold it together. So I'm just using some craft foam to kind of give some dimension to my hot air balloon. And applying these little stringies to kind of give it that balloony feel. I will say I realize I'm using a glue stick for something that would be better with a liquid glue. However, I mistakenly left the lid off of my my liquid glue and it dried out. So that's why we use that. I love this card so much. It turned out so cute. All right, now we're on to the next one. So this one we are making an arrow card and a house card. So I'm just starting with a piece of colored or patterned paper and some color box ink in a gold. So we're going to do just a few different things on this one. We're going to use this arrow plate not only to create our background, but also to create some embellishments for on top of it. So I've just got some white cardstock and some craft cardstock that I'm just using that gold on my plate, and then I want to reiterate that idea of it being an arrow. So I'm just adding some arrow stamps into it, which I love. These are some of my favorite stamps. And I apologize, I keep doing it really low on the frame, and I'm not really sure why. And I'm kind of just doing very similar things, but I'm just adding a lot of texture, but keeping my colors very simple in that gold and black kind of theme, because I wanted this to kind of be almost a vintage feel masculine card. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not really a card maker. I probably should have prefaced this entire video with that I'm not a card maker, but I kind of wanted to challenge myself to do something different and not only see things differently, but see my art maybe a little bit different. And so it was a challenge for me, and I'm always up for a good challenge. So I am just cutting out each of those arrow shapes that I stamped onto my craft cardstock and my white cardstock. And I love how shimmery it is, but it's not like it's not like tacky gold, but it's just like pretty shimmery gold. It's a very muted gold, which I like for this project because, like I said, I'm trying to go for a kind of a vintagey theme. I'm just lightly stamping that in the background just to continue that idea of arrows, and adding the arrow foam stamp to the back as well. I think that really helps kind of sell the idea that this little mini plate or this petite plate is an arrow. And to give them a little more oomph and a little more dimension, I'm just adding a little black archival ink to the edges. And originally I had them going kind of facing down, which I kind of liked, but then I was like, well, love is supposed to be uplifting and up, so I kind of liked the idea of having them face up and in contrast with the other arrows that are facing down. I don't know, it kind of made sense in my brain. And then I'm just gluing them down. Maybe I'm cheesy, but I like the idea of the arrows going up because love is supposed to lift you up and make you happy, and this is all about happy, happy Valentine's Day. And then this is just really speaking to like my old school, just learning mixed media art where you're like, just add all the layers. And maybe that's just me. Anybody else? And keeping it messy and fun by slapping some gold paint on there, and a few more arrows, this time in gold, just to kind of keep reiterating that idea of arrows. And then I had this really cool ephemera, I think I said that right, pack from Tim Holtz. And it's really just like these kind of beautiful vintage butterflies and postagey kind of things, and flowers. So I thought that would be kind of fun because the color scheme was the same, so it wouldn't be super drastic and super weird. And so I'm just outlining them with some, or inking them up a little bit just to give them a little more oomph. I think I planned on using that twine for something, and now that I look at that, I don't think I ended up using it at all. That's funny. It's the things you realize you did or did not do. And so I'm just layering these all down to be kind of the title spot for my card, and then just going in and just adding some more details to kind of make them pop a little bit more because they were getting a little bit lost in my background. And everything is better with scribbles. Maybe that's just me and my art. Scribbles make the world go round. And so you can kind of see I've got it there almost done. And I'm just adding, again, more layers because that's just, I don't know. I haven't done this style of mixed media art in a long time, so I thought it was super fun to kind of go back to my roots a little bit. And then I went and grabbed just some stamps that I had, so that I could stamp some sentiments onto my little strips over there to finish up my card and keep it love themed because, Valentine's Day. And I like it because it's very, if you have someone that's not into like the pinks and the reds and all that kind of stuff, I think this is a great idea, um, to kind of send some love without making it too lovey-dovey, conversation heart colored thing that people really don't like sometimes. So it made me happy. It was just fun. All right, so let's move on to our next one. So next one, we're going to actually be using it as a house, but this time I'm actually going to stamp, and press my petite onto a piece of foam after I've added some acrylic paint, and just a little bit of texture, because I really like this idea because it's going to give my card some dimension, and make it, those cards that you pay like $6 for at Walgreens. So I had this card backing and I really, really did not like it. I had made it and I thought it was fun, but again, I'm not a card maker, so I was playing around, seeing what I liked. And so you can see I'm really playing. I'm not sure why I left this in here, but it be what it be. So this is going to be a pretty card for something else at some point, but I could not get, and I think I really just left it in there so you guys can see when we make these videos, it's not always perfect the first time. We make mistakes and we play around and figure out what's going to work. So I thought it would be fun to kind of, let's leave it in there. Let's see the process and see how much I'm like, nope, no matter what place I put it on this card, I did not like it. I even was like, well, maybe it just needs more. Oh my gosh, please tell me in the comments that it's just me that's like, maybe if I just add more stuff, it'll work. And apparently, no. I was even like, let's add this. But I really loved the way my house turned out, so I didn't want to give up on my little house. So again, I'm gonna just try to add some more stuff. And keeping it real, I'm sitting here, you can see me thinking, and I'm just not loving it. I'm not loving it. So I was like, you know what? Let's get some funky paper out and just have some fun. I can't remember what this is. Oh, it's like a cheap paper pack I found at Michael's, but it has all these kind of funky stuff. Or this one's a really old from Glitz. And I thought the colors kind of worked because they were muted but still kind of bright. So I thought let's just have fun and just add bunches and bunches of colors. That was me writing notes for what sizes my stuff needed to be because, again, not a card maker. But I thought this would be a fun way to introduce tons of color and kind of make my house feel a little less like it's kind of hanging out in the middle of nothing because that's how way it kind of felt on those other backgrounds. So I needed to kind of shrink my space, and I think adding all these layers is a good way to do that. So yay! So I loved the way this one ended up turning out. And I'm getting some another cardstock base to use and just using my handy dandy glue stick because I did not check my supplies before I started filming this. So different kind of glue probably would have been super handy. But I love my little house, and I kind of wanted it to feel almost like it was a piece of wood, even though it's foam. So I grabbed my archival ink and just add a little to the outside to kind of give it a little more oomph. All right, and last but not least, this one might be a little bit of a stretch, but it's kind of where my mind went. So of course you cannot have a cup without a nice little cup of tea and a good pun, because if you haven't learned throughout this video, I love a good pun. So I am just using some brown and kind of an ochre yellow to use to make my print on my plate. And I just went back in and dabbed that a little bit, and I kind of wanted to make sure I had a little bit more shading so it looked more like it was rounded. So I'm just taking a sponge and a little bit of paint and just kind of rounding it just a little bit, adding a little bit more shadow and highlight, and then cutting it out because we are going to make a tea-rific card. Yes, I went there. Sorry for anyone who hates puns. You're probably hating this entire video. All right, and then I'm just going back in and just inking the edges again, just to give it some pop and make it stand out a little bit more. I think it looks great. It feels like a vintage 70s coffee cup. Did anybody else have those where they were like brown and light brown and stuff? And I wanted, rather than color it in, I wanted to pop out that little edge or that little window right there so that it would work better with my card. And I'm just going to adhere it down, and I added a little piece of string so that I could dangle my little tag from it so it looks like it's actually coming out of my little teacup. And of course the tag says you are terrific because you are terrific. And just trimming the edges so it really has that look of a, is it a tea tag? Would it be considered a tea tag? I'm not sure what it's called. And then I can just attach that to my my little stringy. And make sure you get the little notch on there so it looks like it's stapled on. And then, as southern as I am, and as much as I love a glass of cold sweet tea, we're looking at some hot steamy tea today. And so I just sketched in some kind of steam ribbons and just kind of played with it. This is something that you can kind of figure out what works best. This is a craft paper, so of course it absorbs your ink differently. So just play with it. See what works for you and what you like. And just adding some little tendrils. I felt like that was missing. It didn't have the little curly cues at the top. All right, friends, and last but not least, we are going to be using that cup shape again, but this time we're going to just completely ignore that handle. We're just going to use it, the base part of it, with some thicker pigmented paint that I found from Folk Art and some Carabelle Studio texture plates. And you get this really kind of almost gumdrop, I guess, kind of shape, I guess is what I'm kind of calling it. And I really wanted to do this particular one because I wanted to kind of emphasize that idea that just because the shape is a certain shape doesn't mean you have to use the entire shape. That, you know, you can ignore the handle so that you can kind of make this this unique tile shape. And of course, I am a Southern girl, so I am using green and gold and purple because Mardi Gras is coming up soon, and that is, you know, the Southern girl in me. Of course, if you don't have anything like this, like a Carabelle Studio texture plate, there is texture all around. I will leave a link right here to my video where I took 10 things out of my kitchen and used it to make textures on my gel press plate. I think it's always great to let people know that you don't have to spend a lot. You can have fun and just find texture and whatever you have in your house. These just happen to be ones that I had and I liked. So I'm just finishing up my pattern here. And again, I apologize. I don't know why I am off the screen with this. I apparently got really excited about stuff. I don't know. um, And I'll leave a link to these paints down below and in the complete list so you guys can check that out. And then to keep with the Mardi Gras theme, I'm going to go ahead and just fill in the in-between, the kind of grout lines, if you will, with some gold paint. I feel like it kind of finishes the edges of my little shapes a little bit. And gives it just more of a finished quality. And then adding a little bit of brown in as well to tone down the gold and keep it in that kind of vintage style. It's definitely not something I would normally make, but I love the combos of colors and textures and how the pieces kind of come together to make that tile shape. And then I'm just going in with my gold and just going to continue to add some details just so it's not flat. This is one of my favorite stamps. It's just some squiggly circles that I've had for a really long time. And I feel like the gold kind of brings the entire picture. All right, to finish up my little project, I'm just going to go in with some black ink and this acrylic stamp that's kind of a scattered dot, and that's just mainly to add a little bit more texture and tone down my gold just a little bit. And of course, it would not be a Mardi Gras themed card without the phrase les éléments temps roulés, which if you're French, I apologize if I completely jacked that up. But it basically just means let the good times roll. And I thought that was a perfect phrase to go with this card. And I think it's a great way to end this video as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and it challenged you to kind of look at things differently and see how you can make them just a little more fun and exciting. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and laissez le bon temps rouler.